right, happy Monday to you. September 28th, getting closer and closer to October. Hard to believe October starts at the end of this week. And I'm talking about a whole lot of things this week. This shouldn't come as any surprise, though, if you've been watching my channel here, whether you're watching on YouTube or my Facebook page. I've been saying now for the past month and a half that the pattern across the eastern United States has been very active, lots of cold fronts, and that the tropical pattern can sometimes be influenced by that once we get deep into the fall season, especially October in the southeastern U.S. All right, all that being said, let's start with the basics. Tons of cool air coming into the eastern U.S. So basically anything from the continental divide eastward is going to be impacted by this cold front. You can see it's very, very evident. I really probably don't even need to mark this, but I will anyways for you. There's the big dip in the jet stream, okay? So this is cold air rushing out of Canada southeastward. That's what that is, all right? Let's move this forward in time, and I want to show you what we're looking at. That cool air rushes to the eastern seaboard, okay? So there's the dip, what we call in the trough, the jet stream. Here, I'll draw it for you again. This is like Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning. Okay, so this is your trough right in there. Okay, so your wind movement is coming out of Canada like this. It comes down like that and then goes like that. Okay, classic jet stream movements across North America. It's normal to start seeing these cold fronts stronger and stronger and the dips in the jet stream stronger and stronger as you get late into September going into October. What's not as normal and what we're lucky in is that about every once in 10 years, we always hope for that early season cold front in Florida to help kind of knock the humidity down and maybe knock our temperatures down just a couple degrees early. What I mean by early is usually that doesn't happen until sometime around mid-October. Okay, so if it can happen in late September to early October, believe it or not, that's early for Floridians, especially South Florida. Okay, so this is why I always joke about it in my on-air job. I go, we're tracking the first front, the front tracker, and it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of not. I mean, it's kind of fun. It's almost like part of the seasonal change in South Florida is for us to track the first big front of the season. Well, this is it. Okay, now where does it exactly stop? What exactly is the impact? The exact temperatures, still a little in question, but they're definitely coming into more focus now compared to last week. But we've been talking about this now for a week and a half. So there's your cooler air. Notice it does come into the east, and then if anything, there's kind of a reinforcing shot on the back side. There it is, all the way to the end of the week. Now that's pretty impressive for this time of year. Okay, that being said, let's look more closely. This is what I would call a moisture map. Okay, so basically what you're looking at here is lots and lots of moisture across Florida today, not a surprise. And then here's the drier air coming in with the front. This front will not arrive into central and south Florida until Wednesday. So notice tomorrow, late afternoon and evening, the front is right about there. Okay, so it's slicing from North Carolina down through Georgia and the panhandle of Florida. There's your cooler, drier, less humid air racing towards Florida. Okay, again, strong front for this time of year. Over the weekend, I got funny comments on my social media outlets and pages. And it's funny how, I don't know why, but for some reason in today's society, maybe it is because of social media, there always tends to have to be extreme statements like, oh, this isn't a cold front. And it's like, no, it is. For Florida, this is impressive. It might not be for Minnesota, but for South Florida, this is an impressive front. But then on the flip side, I don't know why there has to be extreme when people get stressed and worried like, oh my God, this is way too strong, or oh man, this is way too hot for this time of year. No, actually, none of this is extreme and none of it needs to be portrayed as extreme. Is this front arriving maybe, again, like I said, a couple weeks early? Yeah, maybe we're getting lucky, but that happens about once every 10 years here in South Florida. So there's no need for extreme statements in any of this. This is an impressive front for Florida, absolutely, and an impressive pattern for the southeastern U.S. One that, quite honestly, I think will be a welcome change for a lot of people. I love summer weather. I love warm and muggy conditions. I don't mind it at all. I love swimming in warm ocean waters, but I also like the change of seasons. I think it's fun. Okay, so here's the front. And it arrives right around sunrise Wednesday morning, so that your front, you can see, is right there, slicing down through Polk County and Manatee County Wednesday morning. If you're not familiar with the Florida area, that essentially is the I-4 corridor between Orlando and Tampa. So that kind of gives you an idea. Okay, that's Wednesday morning. Then notice what happens. Wednesday night, it appears the front stops right there, somewhere just south of Polk County and Sarasota, and then it just lingers. Okay, so this is Thursday night. Let me draw it for you. And it really hasn't moved a whole lot. Okay, so there's your front. So this is drier air on the backside. And this, for extreme southern Florida, we're talking like Fort Myers, Naples, and Miami, still warm and muggy. The front doesn't make it. And again, these fine little details by, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles can change and fluctuate, kind of like hurricane forecasting, but that's the general idea right now. And that's not surprising, by the way. This early in the season, it's really hard to get a strong cold front to go all the way down past Miami and the Keys. Okay, let's go into Friday. And notice, hasn't moved a whole lot. It does look like it tries to drift farther south. It looks like it's probably down here near Lake Okeechobee now, probably down south of Naples near the Alligator Alley. Okay, so that's probably getting people near Miami and Naples excited that, hey, maybe it'll make it. Either way, the point is, now you're looking at Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, at least 3 days of drier, less humid air, and even a little cooler for the Tampa Bay area, Orlando area. That is a big deal. For anybody that jokes like, oh, you Floridians make a big deal. Hey, it's our climate, okay? We live in a subtropical climate, so this is a big deal. Don't poo-poo it and act like it's not, because it is. You ask any Floridian that's lived here for 20, 30 years, they're like, oh yeah, any break in that summertime heat's a big deal. All right, let's go into Saturday. And, okay, interesting. Look what's starting to happen. The moisture is starting to nudge its way back to the north, and now this is what we would now call or refer to as a warm front going back northward. Okay, so it was a cold front, now it's going back northward, and that's Saturday. Now, what tends to happen a lot of times with fronts this time of year is they'll come down and they'll stall out near us. They'll either stall out to our north, to our south, or right on top of us. So don't be surprised. Look at this. If this front goes back to the north Saturday, looks like Sunday, woo, look at this, all this moisture. Wow, that's a lot of moisture. So we could go from dry, cooler, less humid air to all of a sudden heat and humidity coming back with tons of moisture, showers, and thunderstorms. That's actually very normal for our climate, okay? Then, look at Monday into next Tuesday. Huh, interesting. It's as if the front stops again, and it says, nope, I'm not going back farther north. I'm staying right there, somewhere right around the panhandle. Then, go further out in time. Then it does lift back to the north. Then go further out in time, like a whole, I don't know, week and a half from now, and there are signals that it might come back south. Look at that. All the way down, sagging back towards south of Tampa and Orlando. So you see my point? This is how the weather works. It's very normal, especially in Florida this time of year between now and November, to see these fronts just kind of oscillate and fluctuate and wave around Florida. So sometimes you get lucky and get a little bit drier. Then it drifts back, and then you're back into showers and storms and humidity. Then it drifts back, and you're like, hey, less humid, drier air. And so that's my job as a meteorologist. So when you see on all your apps, the radio forecasts, the newspaper forecasts that we're cranking out as meteorologists, you have to really pay attention because each day can start to be pretty different this time of year. Just a couple days ago, it was like tropical, boom, warm, humid, and then a couple days from now, we're going to be talking about, wow, cooler mornings, more comfortable. All right, all that being said, let's look at some actual raw data. If you're a weather geek like me, or if you even like weather and you're interested in this first front, you're going to like to see these data, these numbers. This is dew point numbers, okay? These are not temperatures. So these are dew points in the 70s, basically meaning very, very muggy. Here's your front. This would be tomorrow evening. And this is really dry air, less humid, dry air moving towards Florida. Let's move forward and look what happens. It moves in Wednesday morning, and voila. That is the middle of the day, and your front is right about there. There's drier air that has made it into Citrus, Hernando, Pasco, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Manatee, Polk, and barely into Osceola County and maybe Sarasota County. So that tells you right there, again, this front's going to just barely move through and then hang up probably just to the south of the I-4 corridor. But it does mean that we get lucky in the central and South Florida areas, in some areas, and get drier, slightly less humid air. That's Wednesday. Then there's Thursday. Okay, and there's Friday, still kind of hanging on. And then we go into Saturday. Okay, not as comfortable. Looks like dew point's starting to come up. And then you go into Sunday. Look what happens. Yep, there you go. Moisture is coming back. So this is how, as meteorologists, we read these charts. It might not mean a lot to the outside public, but we read these charts that way, and we start to get a good idea. And when you forecasted weather like I have for 15, 20 years in Florida in the Deep South, you start to get a good handle on what's true, what's not true, what's accurate with the models, what's not. And remember, last week, a whole week and a half ago, I was saying, hey, there are hints that this is coming, but I'm not confident yet. Well, obviously now we're only a few days away, so I'm a lot more confident, and I think it's going to happen. But again, I think it's going to hang up somewhere in South Florida. That's very normal. All right, this should not come as a surprise either then when you put that storyline together with the other storyline, which is, I said, the only negative to getting these early season cold fronts into the southeastern U.S., and it can be a great pattern because it gets comfortable in the eastern and southeastern U.S. All of a sudden you get rid of the summertime heat and humidity. Yeah, everybody's going, yeah, summertime, you know, kind of giving way to the pumpkin spice lattes, and yeah, Halloween's around the corner. That excitement, though, has to be somewhat subdued, especially in Florida, because there can be tropical activity still well through October and even into November. It's not a surprise that, look what's happened. National Hurricane Center has finally put a little yellow area of, hey, just watch here. Now, you'll be happy to know the chances of development over the next 3 to 4 days is very small, almost 0%. It's beyond that. It's like late this week going into the weekend that I think is going to be the better chance. And by the way, I want to show you, let me see if I can kick out to this map, show you this, and then show you this. Okay, let me show you this map. If you've been watching me for the past, I don't know, month and a half, then this won't come as a surprise. That I've been saying for a long time that I'm not as worried anymore about the Atlantic. Even if waves come off the, continent of Africa and they develop out here, I'm not as worried about that anymore. I'm more worried about right here in the Caribbean to Gulf, okay? Because we are now getting into the time of year where the Bermuda High can nudge right out here, and the cold fronts coming across the country right in here have a tendency of dropping down like this. And it will lead to an avenue for any tropical activity down here in the Caribbean to then crawl between the two, okay, like this. It can be Florida, it can be the Bahamas, it can be Cuba, it can be Yucatan Peninsula, but the point is, it's right about in this area. All right, that being said, the reason I pulled up this map in particular is, look at that. A tropical wave has made it into the Eastern Caribbean. And remember, I said, I don't care if they do this, I don't care if they do that, I don't care if they do that. I care if they make it right here into the Eastern Caribbean. Now, don't get too stressed. Again, remember, I said, I'm not a big fan of extremes. Extremes, there's no need. So I'm not saying stress out. But what I am saying is, keep an eye on this, okay? Even though everybody's kind of starting to get into the mood, especially this cold front this week is really going to get a lot of Floridians in the mood for Halloween and fall weather. Keep an eye on the tropics, okay? I wouldn't give up yet just on the whole, could we see something late in the season? Okay, that being said, let me change my marker back here. This is a map of moisture in the atmosphere. If you watched me for a while, you know I love to show this map. And I said for a long time, watch right in here off the coast of the northern coast of South America. Watch these tropical waves as they pass by, and there just happens to be one right there, and watch to see if they pull some moisture. They can do that. They can actually pull moisture off the northern coast of South America, and when they do that, you need to watch this boxed area of the Caribbean. Because again, things can move like this, they can move like this, and they can move like this. Okay, let's put this into motion. By the way, this is the GFS American model, which it has performed fantastically this season. It has beat the snot out of almost every model out there. It has done a good job. It's done tons better than the European model this season. Meteorologists aren't quite sure yet. I think it has to do with an upgrade that they made to the Euro, and maybe it messed it up a little bit. That's just a theory, but we're not sure just yet. But either way, the GFS has done good, so I'm going to continue riding on its back. And what I want you to notice is, sure enough, you can kind of pick up on loosely. There's nothing organized, but loosely. There you go. Yeah, there's a model in, or there's a wave in there. And by the way, here's your front. Okay, see that? So out in front of the cold front, you notice how the moisture really tends to pool and come together. That is why there's so many showers and storms in the Florida area, not just today, but tomorrow also. Okay, so that kind of goes hand in hand. All right, let's move forward in time. And you'll notice Wednesday, there is your front, okay, slicing down through Florida, right there. And here's your wave. That's your tropical wave. It's continuing to move west. Okay, let's go forward in time. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it looks like it's drier and less humid from about the I-4 corridor northward in Florida. Southern part of the state doesn't look like it really dries out too much. Let's go all the way to Friday. And what I want you to notice is the wave has made it to right here. It's somewhere right in here. It's kind of hard to tell if it's sprawled out like this. It's kind of hard to tell if it's like this. And even the model, I don't think, understands that just yet. The point is, it's right about here in the Western Caribbean. This is the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. This is a very common area for us to watch going into October, especially in South and Southwestern Florida. This is where Wilma came from. This is where Michael came from just a couple of years ago. Okay? Here's why it's important. Cold fronts this time of year, if we get lucky, in a weird sense, if we get lucky and get the early season fronts into Florida, yes, we cool down, yes, we get less humid, and everybody gets excited, right? Because they come all the way down like this. But they can act like a pathway, like a runway for tropical storms to follow. Because tropical storms don't want to run into a high pressure. They want to be allowed to go towards low pressure. Well, cold fronts are low pressure. Behind them can be a high pressure. But this is all low pressure in here. So a lot of times these tropical waves will then try to pivot towards those fronts. I'm not saying this one will. But let's just take, this is the 12Z GFS on this Monday afternoon. Let's take this further out. And you can see by Saturday, what I want you to notice is right near the Yucatan Peninsula. Do you see that pivoting motion? Do you see that right in there? That does appear to be a cyclonic turn. So it could be that we're maybe seeing a tropical depression forming, a tropical storm forming. The model is hinting at something. Okay, so here's your old front that's still sitting there. And the model's saying, yeah, it kind of hits the old back into that front and it starts to turn. The fronts act as what we call cyclogenesis starters. They act as like an area where you start to get spin. And so as a meteorologist, I love the fronts and I hate the fronts. it kind of goes both ways there. Because yeah, we do have to watch them carefully. Okay, let's go out though through this weekend. And what I want you to notice is then after that, something interesting happens. Here, let me go back and forth so you can kind of see. You see right in there? It looks like at first it's drifting north, and then something interesting happens. Then it all of a sudden appears to almost drift over to here. And then here's the tail end of the front. And here's your dry air right about in here. So what's happening? Okay, here's what I think is happening. This is going all the way out to next Monday and Tuesday. And then, well, interesting. Look at that. Next Tuesday, if anything, it tends to kick over here. I'm not saying this will happen. This is just one computer model run. If I go back and look at the past 6, they've all been a little different. They've all hinted at something in here, but they've all been different. Some take an open wave this way. Some actually start to develop a tropical storm up into the Gulf. Some say that something develops and moves that way. Some don't develop anything at all. So they're all different. But I'm just saying what I think is happening here. Let me show you this map. To explain this map, quite simply, this is your dip in the jet stream, and these reddish colors are where the high pressure is located. So this is high pressure right in here. And so this is Wednesday, and this is your strong cold front with the dip in the jet stream coming all the way to Florida. So if something tries to develop a wave down here in the Caribbean, it's going to want to go right up in there, right? Yeah, because it's going to stay away from the western edge of the high, and it's going to want to go towards these lower pressures, right? Okay, let's go all the way to this weekend. And look what happens. Okay, it does appear to have a pathway somewhere right in here, right? There's no high pressure in here. There is right here. Okay, so this is your high, and it does appear as though on the western side there could be an opening or a pathway. But what I think is happening is, keep in mind, it's not all about highs and lows. It's not all about water temperatures. It's multiple things, which is why meteorology not only is an inexact science, but it's a very complicated science. It's kind of similar to the medical field. You can't just say, well, I had a headache, so therefore I have a brain tumor. No, it doesn't work that way. We have to do a lot of tests. We have to do a lot of research and figure out what's causing it, okay? Well, in meteorology, it's not as simple as, uh-oh, the high pressure's out of the way, here it is over here, so that means this is going to become a hurricane, and boom, it's going to go right up in there. Not necessarily. Let me show you this map. This is a wind shear map, okay? So on Wednesday, what I mean by this is wind shear works against tropical storms. So this is where your strongest of winds would be in the upper levels of the atmosphere. They'd be ripping right through here, which makes sense on the backside of the cold front. So if you get something developing down here in the Caribbean and it's trying to head towards that, there is no way it could survive this wind shear. But does the wind shear go away? Well, let's go to Thursday. No, wind shear's still there in the Gulf. Let's go to Friday. Whoa, wind shear's still there, and if anything, it's stronger. Let's go to Saturday. Whoa, lots of wind shear. Wow, look at all this wind shear. Okay, so you're not going to get any tropical storm or hurricane that's able to survive up in here with all that wind shear. Okay, that's what I think the computer guidance is trying to understand. As a human, I can understand it. As a meteorologist, I was trained to understand this, and I've learned this and researched this for years. So even if you get a tropical storm this weekend that tries to develop down in this area near the Yucatan, and if it tries to move in this way, it would be shredded. Good news, right? Absolutely good news. Okay. However, it could also just sit down there near the Yucatan and not move and survive. So let's go further out in time. Let's go to Sunday. Okay, the wind shear does back to the north a little bit. Let's go to Monday. There's strong wind shear, but notice how it's backed off a bit. It's not down here. Instead, it's up here now. Okay, so what this means is I think a tropical storm could develop down in here. If it tried to move this way, it would be shredded. If it tries to move this way, it could survive. And if it tries to move this way, it could survive. Okay, so then let's go all the way to next Tuesday. Same thing. You see how the wind shear is still there, but it backs off. See how it's up in here? It's not down here. So I think if anything develops in the tropics, Southern Gulf, Western Caribbean, it can survive. If it goes north, I don't think it could, unless it goes northeast or northwest or west, okay? Okay, let me come back to this map now. And now you'll start to be able to piece together why I think the model's doing what it's doing. Let me go out to next Tuesday, and Monday and Tuesday, and let me show you what's happened. All of a sudden, the jet stream has flattened out. It's moving like this instead of dipping down into the southeast. And look what has moved in. A high pressure. Okay, so I think what's happening is the model's essentially saying, well, I think a tropical storm is going to develop. Then I think it's going to try and drift north, but I think it's going to have a hard time surviving north, so it might just sit still. And then by the time the wind shear finally backs off, so therefore I can move north, uh-oh, now a high pressure's in here, so it might get pushed to the west. Okay? That doesn't guarantee that is what's going to happen. I'm just telling you that in general is what the guidance is thinking right now. If I go back to different model runs, for example, this morning's model run, it'll be different. Okay? Let's take the tropical wave. Let's move it west. There appears to be cyclonic rotation. Yep, right there, near the Yucatan Peninsula again. Okay, then let's take it further. Okay, it shows something developing and then drifting west, and then north towards Texas, and then east, and then back to the south. Okay, let's go back even further, and let's see what it did. Okay, there's your wave. It's developing right there. It's near the Yucatan Peninsula. Ooh, it's trying to go north, trying to go north, trying to go north. It just stalls. Oh, look at that. It tries to take a tropical storm, albeit weakening, into the west coast of Florida. So that was yesterday's run. Okay, Now let's come back to the current run, and let me show you what it shows. Again, here comes the wave. There it is, trying to develop. Yep, right there near Yucatan Peninsula. It tries to go north. Wait, maybe west? Maybe northwest? Oh, wait. Oh, and then another cold front coming down. So you see my point. A lot of moving parts, a lot of things to juggle here. There's nothing set in stone. I'm going to be watching all these cold fronts. I'm going to be watching the Caribbean. I'm going to be watching the tropical waves down there and the tropical moisture. As of right now, hard to tell, but I can tell you this. What is certain, we've got drier air coming into the I-4 corridor of Florida for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Beyond that, big question mark. Have a great Monday, and I will give you more updates here over the next couple of days.